learning a lot about the culture and who they were. There's a lot of Vikings in all of us, but it has a combination of a lot of adventure and action, and it's the most important thing. It's humanized. It's the relationships and the storyline is relevant even to us today in terms of struggling with our partners, women talking to each other, confiding and struggling things with different elements of being a woman. And I think those issues make everybody relate to watching it, even though it is set in the 8th century.
Have you changed personally at all after embodying a Viking woman, like putting on the clothes, do you feel empowered?
Oh yeah, are you kidding me? But to give the credit to the crew and some of the amazing, Joan who did the wardrobe, it helps us as actors to embody that. Put on, for example, when my character gets more status, she has more furs, and when she was run down, she was involved in the battle sequence, her costume was very different, and I think that putting it all together and looking in the mirror, you're like, oh, okay, like you sit there, you want to do it justice, and it helps a lot, and every aspect of the cruise, it's all thought out, from the hair to the makeup to everything.
So Jessalyn, your clothes are very regal.
Yeah, so as Katheryn says, it definitely, when we showed up and we saw the standards of the production, it really felt like game on. It really felt like, okay, we are going for it. And I remember when we were putting my look together, it was based on some artifacts that had been found, and there was this idea of first of all, dyeing my hair brown, and then pulling it straight back, and then doing this sort of ghost-like makeup, and I know that everyone was really nervous about it, and at the same time, full credits to the makeup department, there was this feeling of we either do it or we go home. There's no halfway with a show like this, because there are so many ways that people are expecting us to fall into the cliches and to beautify it. I mean, Katheryn and I have to give up, seriously, a lot of vanity for this. We do.
And eyebrows. You don't get to wear makeup when you're on the show, really.
But does it not make it easier?
It makes it easier, but it also, I like it because it's real, and it's real. And Vikings don't wear much makeup anyway, but it definitely helps us. But when you're getting dressed up for Comic-Con, it's definitely a switch. You gotta let go with it and just go with it.
Yeah. Otherwise, we know we'll lose the audience. I mean, if we do, we just know it, and we don't want to break the
authenticity.
Yeah, the world that we've created.
So speaking of authenticity, have you guys gone into Norse mythology or to Norse history and done some research for your roles?
Oh, of course. What's great about how Michael Hurst writes it is you're learning it as you're going, and he's worked with a historian to try to make it as accurate as possible. So just in terms of us being pagans and the mythology and how we believed in all these different gods, and it's all very interesting. And the portrayal of women and how women were in that society, and that they were empowered and they did have certain struggles, and all that stuff is just, you're learning. Like my character right now explores different territories, so I'm right now in the middle of researching that and understanding the history of that. I have a Ukrainian background, and when I was doing my research, that Vikings actually invaded Ukraine, so all that stuff is new for me to find, and it's really fascinating.
And it's actually pretty interesting, because I talked to a lot of strong women actresses who are playing strong characters. What is it about TV that's kind of bringing that out these days? Because it seems like in the last 4 years, there's been a lot of strong women characters coming to the fore.
It's a very good question. I think it's such a compliment, and it shows that there's a need for it, and there's an appetite for women to have the complexity and the strength and have a strong voice, and that's really empowering to play. And especially when I signed up for the show, I was so excited, but I also didn't understand or fully appreciate the role I might have had, and I'm sure even with Siggy that now seeing what Michael Hurst brings to the table and getting a chance to dig in, you start, it's like peeling an onion. You start finding the strengths and the vulnerabilities, and there's a lot of strength in the vulnerabilities, and I think that makes us more whole and human and real.
Now, since you're in Comic-Con now, dork question. Lots of comic book stuff. Lots of people walking around in costume. If you had to be a superhero, just one, who would you be?
Who would you be?
I know you're Vikings and whatnot, but that's cool too. But
Who would you be?
even if it's just because the costume's cool.
Wow.
I had no idea.
Batman. I mean, I think Batman's pretty cool.
Heck yes.
Batman. Done.
I definitely have to be a cool superhero, like too, some badass like Marvel character. I've always been in awe of it. If it's like, you know, Catwoman or you know, one of the Avengers, just someone who kicks ass and just goes to town. Yeah.
As long as that
Going back
happens.
to your, you know, the question also about women. You know, it hits a raw nerve for me because I just feel like there's this idea that God, these women are so interesting, and I just want to say women have always been interesting. You just never been interested in them. But you know, it's just fascinating to me that it's almost like this, that it's 2013 and we're amazed that any woman, that women are interested. It's just shocking.
Do you think it's become dangerously close to becoming a cliche now? Because now it's like every woman has to be like kick-ass, you know.
Well, it's interesting you say that because I don't think necessarily exactly what you say. I mean, there are strong men, there are weak men, there are strong women, there are weak women, there are women who are strong in a moment and weak in a moment. So I think it has more to do actually with something that Katheryn said, which is just the idea of a multifaceted and conscious characters that aren't just maybe there as props, or the idea of like fill in, oh, there's a wife, but the idea that every woman, every single woman, just like every single man, has an intellect, and they bring it into every situation that they experience. So even when the women are standing in the Great Hall and they're listening to what the Earl's going to do, you think they don't have an opinion? Of course they have an opinion. Women always have an opinion. Trust me. That's true. So it's, in some ways, it's really shakes me that this is a new phenomenon, and yet, you know, I guess better late than never to finally realize that, you know, half the population is actually as complex as that other half.
What's Lagertha gonna do when she finds out about the other woman? What's she gonna do?
She is definitely going to kick some serious butt.
Oh, I hope so.
She has to. We shot that scene a couple weeks ago, and I have to say that I'm black and blue, but
Nice.
it's a lot worse than mine. But no, in all seriousness, it's interesting. I know she is very much in love with him, and as a woman, when you look at that, and what do you do when the love of your life, the husband, cheats on you? I don't think she's ever dealt with that before, or in a real way, because it hurts a lot more coming from Ragnar. I think that it's more the fact that I'm questioning, is he in love with her? Or is it just a fling? And that is a lot more hurtful for him to have feelings for another woman based not just on a physical level. I think that's more of a stab. And it was interesting to play that and explore that. But it's a fun scene, and hopefully you'll like it.
Oh, we can't wait.
Sorry, last question. We have to get. We're done. Thank you. We just have to go to the next table.
My question is, do you see the Siggy C Lagertha as kind of like her wild card, because she's starting to feel like Rollo may not be all there for her as far as her next stage?
Well, it's a great question. You're absolutely right that there's a feeling that maybe putting all my eggs in the Rollo basket might be a mistake. So I will be planting my eggs in other places. Yeah, great question.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.